critical, it's crucial, it's very important. I'm glad you mentioned that word. How about limitations in human rights? Should AI have limitations to protect privacy, or privacy is a secondary thing? For example, there are modern systems of surveillance. What you are reading, what you are studying, what places you are checking, what places you're consulting, how often do you go online, where do you, what places do you visit? I mean, there's a huge amount of surveillance. What's your take on privacy, Mickey?
Yeah, I think that obviously there must be boundaries. More talking about privacy, and not only in AI. We know that all those apps that are free, in a way, they are free because probably we're not aware, but they have for information, and they sell that information to different companies to. I don't know. For example, when you accept cookies, when you go to a website and they say we have cookies to track and etc. Well, that's a way that how you are selling information. And not only in AI, in the majority of apps, unfortunately.
Who should be in charge of regulating the boundaries? Who should be in charge of establishing the boundaries? The government, the companies, the public sector, who should say, well, I accept this up to this moment, up to this limit, up to this boundary. Who should be in charge of establishing the boundaries?
I think that the government must establish the boundaries. It is funny, but for example, the TikTok that we have here in America is not the same the TikTok that they have in China, and TikTok is a Chinese app.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't know that. How are they different, Mickey?
yeah, for example, the TikTok in China is like more educational, and if you go to TikTok here in America, is a lot of entertainment, a lot of in occasions like full trends, like dances and all stuff. And and yeah, obviously they have like their own limitations in their country, in this case in China, and it is completely different than here in Mexico. Or I think that in the United States it's available again, but do you remember that they they blocked TikTok for the because they were thinking that probably China was like using it like espionage.
Ganesh, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
They blocked it up to this day. Is it blocked or is it open back again?
I think that it's open back again, but they blocked for like 3 or 4 days. Just that.
Really?
Hmm.
I didn't know that. If the government should be in charge of censoring the surveillance from private companies, and some people, companies, governments claim that censorship is something bad, something very bad, because it limits the freedom. However, some companies themselves establish some level of censorship. What is the level of censorship? How much should you censor something? Uh, I mean, what is the limit to censor something?
What is the limit to censor something?
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
don't know.
people criticize censorship. They say, well, why are you censoring our freedom? We want to have freedom of speech, freedom of communication, freedom of creed, freedom of religion, freedom of everything, right? But sometimes we also need some censorship, like in this case, to protect our privacy. So what is what is the limit?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that it's not that you mentioned that. I think that is an effort that must be in together between the government and the user. In this case, well, the people like me and you, because
Yes.
yeah, it's true. In occasions, people don't want to have like this censorship, uh, but in so many occasions, it's because they're not aware of the use of their data, of their information. So I think that making people aware of why those apps are free and why are not really free um, probably will change the mindset of some people. Not of all of them, but at least some. I think.
I believe that's a great comment because we act based on what we know, and if we don't know something, we don't know how our private information is being used, so we say no, freedom, freedom, freedom. But if we know where our private information is going, then we would say, oh, I'm going to change my mind, I'm going to change my mindset. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. All right, let me go to another question, Mickey. um, do you believe that sometimes AI reinforces social discrimination or social biases? They can influence people to behave, to purchase, to discriminate, or to adopt certain practices, certain language, certain type of, and I don't mean to say only clothing, manners, attitudes, even leading you to certain practices that are not necessarily in your benefit. For example, if I don't like people to be very very healthy, I would say the sunlight is going to damage your skin. It's going to cause cancer, maybe not, but it can say, yeah. So we make a program to to provoke to deter people from going to the sun very often, which activates your vitamin D, and in theory stimulates your drive to find a partner and mate with that partner and increase the population, right? So we say we are a global government, a group of people, governments who don't want Latin American countries to continue reproducing themselves. What can we do? Well, let's launch a campaign and this and that based on AI and all the elements. Should this social behavior be uh, directed with AI, artificial intelligence, or what do we think about that?
Mm, well, one issue that I see with AI is that in occasions makes us like more lazy to think and to have like our own ideas and perceptions. I think that at the end AI is a tool, but there must not be like the only source of information. I think that it's important to have like our own criteria of everything, and obviously you can compare with AI, you can compare with so many websites that can give you like uh, an information of idea, but I think that at the end, who wants, well, who needs to think is humans beings, and well, yeah, I think so. I think that that's one issue because in occasions we tend to just look up for something on AI or on Google, and we don't really use our mind to think or analyze.
So you think AI is making us a bit lazier? We're a bit more lazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say that that I use AI for example, for almost all the activities that I did in my masters, at least the 85% or 90% were from AI. Obviously, at the end, I read the document or what I was working at it, but yeah, the structure, the information was mostly for AI from AI. Sorry.
Now, the question is that valid? I would say now that it's as valid as using a calculator for solving math problems. You can establish the solution. Actually, if it is a tool, if humans build a tool, it's like if we build a hammer and we insert the nails with a rock or with a hand or with some other device. So why did we invent the hammer in the first place, right?
Mhm.
That being the logical question. But then you say, yeah, but then if it becomes automated, what am I going to do? So we need to find like substitute actions or substitute activities. Which would be substitute activities? Which I mean, this is a question that has been on for years now. I think maybe 2 3 years. If AI does most of our activities now, even mental activities, what is left for us humans to do?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's the biggest issue. I think that's, and I think that we come back to the first question about the boundaries, right? Unfortunately, and at the end, at the same time, unfortunately, There are so many AIs, and there are AIs that can help you to be more productive, to be more efficient in your company, whatever. But from the other hand, we are having like substitution of people for this new tool, and I think that that's when the issue appears, because then what's gonna happen with all that people? What they're gonna do? What what will be like uh, their position, their job? I think that's why it must be regulated, because mm, if we don't do it, if we just do like the change from one day to other, I think that we have like so many pending things to analyze before.
Okay, I agree. I recently was checking the another AI, which is more or less similar to ChatGPT, which is DeepSeek.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have seen it at least.
Mhm.
Seek.
Yeah.
And I asked him a question. I'll ask her a question, I don't know if it's a man or a woman.
Mhm.
I asked him, "What's your opinion of the Chinese government?" Talking about censorship, what do you think the answer was?
The what's the best government?
They, they said it's beyond my scope of field of study. It's beyond my scope.
Mm,
They didn't
yeah,
want to get into problems, so they censor the DeepSeek app for government questions, their own government.
of course.
But if you ask them, what's your opinion about the Mexican government, they will tell you, they make an analysis, a full analysis, right? But they don't talk about themselves, which is a funny thing which ChatGPT doesn't have. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it is. It is very interesting, and obviously, uh, it has their own reasons to do that. Something that I saw on a thread of Twitter, I think, was like random questions about like Chinese government to DeepSeek, and one of the question was like, uh, if Taiwan was part of China, you know that they have this problem since a long time ago,
Right?
and yeah, they defend like the point of view of China, like yeah, Taiwan is part of China because so in a way, um, yeah, I think that AI is a good way to get information about the users, about what people is thinking, and that's why it must be regulated. I think that OpenAI, the one who created ChatGPT, the first, I don't know, remember the founder or the CEO, uh, I think that he, how is it when someone renounce, he no,
Quit. He
he quit.
quit.
He quit because they realized that they were stealing a lot of information, and yeah, obviously that wouldn't be something good to him and to the main developers. But yeah, at the end, AI is, I don't know. I think that I come back to the beginning, that when something is free is because probably you're the product.
That's a great phrase. Who's that? When something is free, you are probably the product.
Yeah,
That's a good phrase. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Who must be at sale? It may be you, right? Maybe us.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, could be the case. Could be the case. Well, so let me ask you another question that I had, and it is right here. Let me show you. Yeah, who should be held accountable when AI makes a harmful decision, a wrong decision, or a decision that hurts somebody? Who should be accountable? I mean, AI made a bad decision.
Hmm.
Is AI accountable because they don't have a personality, nor civilly, nor legally, nor physical?
Hmm.
However,
Hmm.
they are a tool. So AI makes a harmful decision or harmful decisions.
Yeah.
But who is accountable? The developer, the user, AI itself? That's a controversial and interesting question. What do you think about this, Mickey?
Well, at the end, I would say that it's fault of the user to give like too much confidence or trust in AI. That's why it's important to make like our own analysis too, and it's something that uh, I think that we have led for a while because ChatGPT answers you in seconds, and it's like, okay, here's the answer, and then you don't analyze it really. And obviously the same one way that in how they uh, quit the problem is that they say they itself says like ChatGPT can have mistakes, so you need to do like another research. But many cases people is not aware of that.
Right. And it's a good thing, actually, it's a legal thing, very American, to have the disclaimers, right?
Hmm.
This can be harmful if you don't operate it carefully. This product, this disclaimer, this product may cause a harmful effect. If you connect it with a wet hands, it's gonna create a short circuit. Or if you don't operate this equipment carefully, it can cause a problem, harmful, or hurt you, right?
Yeah.
So the disclaimer is very important. Yeah, that is very true. What happens in the other cases which are similar to this, in which you have the tool,
Hmm.
the tool, but you say, well, the tool was made for positive purposes, but you are aware that bad people are using it. And I put as a clear example the self-propulsion guns, right? Say self. This is a parallel topic, propulsion guns, right? Like metralletas, for example, right?
Hmm.
They are built in the US mostly. Well, now they are built everywhere, but at the beginning they were built in the US. And they sell them to our cartels. Well, I don't know if it's our or it's a joint effort. It's a synergy between both governments. And they just complain about the gangsters who use these self propulsion guns, but they don't put an eye on the manufacturers of these guns. They claim we're innocent because the user makes the use they want to. What do you think about that, Mickey?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and and obviously it's more focused about like ethics. I think that at the end, the fault is one for the creator because
Right,
the creator obviously has like a direct responsibility. It's not like, okay, I'm doing this for free for the good of the people, knowing that probably they can use for bad things too. And yeah, obviously the user. I think that the fault is divided between the creator and the user because um, probably the tool could be like in a way neutral, but the intention behind probably is not. I think so.
right. Yeah, well, that's a very interesting topic. We had this chat in our courses in the doctoral degree
Hmm.
about the neutrality of tools. Yeah, if you're talking about a hammer, if you're talking about a brick, if you're talking about scissors, well, yeah, it can be neutral because you can use the scissors for something very, very positive or something negative. Same with a knife, same with a hammer, same with a brick. But some other some other products which are built with specific purpose, for example, self-propulsion guns or some toxic materials, let's say that they are used for killing germs or killing some animals in the final stage of their lives or something. They have a purpose. You know the purpose of these devices, of these products, these materials. So the neutrality is also under discussion because some of these, for example, the guillotine in the French Revolution. Well, the guillotine was built to one thing only, and you cannot discuss what the purpose is. The purpose is to kill. You can say, well, yeah, but it serves justice. It serves a criminal justice. Well, yeah, but uh, now you can also evaluate the justice itself. So, in this case, talking about AI, back again to the topic of AI, um, yeah, the user is to blame or the developer is to blame. Uh, what do you think that is going on now? For example, that they are prosecuting the Mexican cartels, but nobody is really pointing to the distributors in the US, to the users, to the salesmen, to the gun manufacturers. What do you think of this practice of the media?
Yeah, um, it is very interesting, and obviously I think that requires a whole analysis of the situation. I don't know, in this case with media, and for example, the case that you mentioned about guns, about the Mexican cartels, all that stuff. Um, Let me more or less reorder my ideas, but um, it seems funny, but at the end, it's something very sad. I think that happens in many cases where, for example, in a way, how cartels got those arms, right? Where they
Right.
mostly from United States. Now that probably United States, well, now United States, you know that they designed like they established the Mexican cartels as terrorism. It's like in a way you are giving like the tools to do that, and then when they need to how can I say this, um, to establish like a new problem in this case, now they are terrorism and now they want to attack them again. It's like in a way you're given the tool and at the end you remove the tool too. and and now and they always wants to see like the winners and like the heroes, like, yeah, we're gonna stop with the terrorism in Mexico when they started doing it.
Right. That's called saving face. I'm gonna save face. I
So,
never appear in the scene of discussion. I'm always saving face. I'm always good, right? I'm
exactly.
never under suspicion.
Hmm.
So they're always saving face. And I think that's unfair for the image of the Mexican people in general, because who talks about the distributors, who talks about the buyers, who talks about the manufacturers of weapons? They don't put that on the media. And I think that's highly unfair because they only portray us as the bad guys and they are portrayed as the good guys. We're going to judge. Bring the criminals here to the US because we're going to put them in jail. Come on, you guys are distributing the drugs, you guys are selling the weapons. So, this practice of saving face is another cultural practice which is typical of many, in this case of the US politicians in general. I don't know where they got it from, but I think it's an important point to notice, which
Yeah.
has not been pointed out, I don't think, in journalism or in the media. But I think is they make the nation look bad, which is not good to be selling this, obviously. But there are people who are colluded in the other side who don't appear under the scene, and that makes me really a little bit mad. Really, obviously, this is nothing to do with the discussion, but I'm just sharing this with you.
Yeah, it is true, and well, it's not the first time that U.S. do do something like this. I think that was the same with the case of Iraq. You know, between the 80s and beginnings of the 2000s, I
Right.
think that they,
Yeah.
in a way, financial like the how say Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein, yeah.
Yeah, with intelligence, guns, resources, and then we know what happened at the end, right? Like they were the heroes, uh, ending with the how you say?
Weapons of mass destruction. They were
Exactly.
never, they were non-existent.
Hmm. So, so yes, you mentioned saving face.
Yeah, which I think is something that should be at least pointed out, right? At
Mhm.
least brought to the table under discussion. Okay, yeah, it's bad to sell drugs, it's bad this and that. Uh, but what about the other side? I mean, why don't they portray the whole picture? And I think the whole picture should be brought to the table. And I try to do this as a social responsibility because looking good or looking bad in international matters, like you who are an international uh, market expert, international
Mhm.
trade expert. Well, the image is also an element of trade, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so if somebody gives a bad image when they are doing the same, come on, it needs to be fair, right? I think.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How about AI, Mickey, to be allowed to make legal or governmental decisions, sentencing criminals, or how to allocate public resources? Well, they're very good at mathematics. They're very good at knowing the law. They're very good at this and that. What do you think about these decisions? Are they valid? What do you think?
Mm, well, I think that like as everything, there are advantages and disadvantages. In a way, it could be like more efficient. I think so. We know that, for example, here in Mexico, to take a decision requires a lot of time,
Yeah.
and I mean, to so many that so many countries have like the same issue. Uh, in a way, if it is, I think that here is like the main point. If in a way the AI was trained by experts, by people who normally take these decisions, obviously the way how AI gonna learn something will be quicker than any other person. Um so yeah, that would be like the advantages, but the disadvantages could be like I don't know. For example, let's imagine that there's a mistake in taking a decision. Who will be the responsible, the AI or the person?
Right, exactly, exactly. That's more or less like the same question like before, right? If
Hmm.
AI makes a harmful decision, who
Exactly.
is to blame? Are you going to blame the developer, the user? I don't know who is to blame, but I would say I would analyze the case one by one. I would say, well, the developer made a defective product, and the user applied the product incorrectly because they are the ones who have a consciousness, who are conscious of the product of the tool, right? Like if you make a car, you are a car maker, and the car has a mechanical problem, but also could have been that the driver incorrectly used the car and hit a tree and destroyed the tree, or maybe the car was defective. So it requires a whole investigation, don't you think, Mickey? Or what do you think about this?
Yeah, exactly. I think that probably the solution in a way will be like, yeah, AI could help you uh, to have like a clear idea of the situation. Probably like to see points that probably uh, we don't see it as first hand. You know, the AI could be like quicker, could be like in a way efficient, but at the end, I think that AI mustn't like replace humans, and at the end, I think that the final decision uh, must be made by a human. I think so.
Okay, okay, I agree. I fully agree. Yeah, because we are the responsible, right? Like when a boss uh, subcontracts a job with an employee, and or you tell one of your people, okay, check me this client, and they give you all the information, and at the end you present the information to your client, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You are responsible. I mean, if it's very pretty, if it's very nice, if it's correct, you made the right analysis, the right decision, and you present something really nice. But if there is a mistake, uh, it's difficult that we can blame our worker, right? Because they made the job for us, and then we check it. We're supposed to check it and
Mhm,
present it to the client or the
mhm,
prospect,
mhm. Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, Mickey. Let's see. Um what about censorship and freedom, political freedom? Is it possible that it will pose a political freedom? Like, for example, I was telling you that if you ask DeepSeek, they will not respond to questions related to their government or to many issues in China or related to China. Let's say that the other countries develop something that gives you all their answers in their favor. For example, certain groups of scientists. groups of scientists belonging to Israel, for example. They will protect their breeding. They will protect their people of products AI made by Japan. They will have a little bias. What, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I think that it's gonna be the same with all the questions. Like, it has advantages and disadvantages because yeah, it's a reality that AI exists and that it's a way to get informed. In a way, that one advantage will be like there can be like more information access. I think so.
Right?
Uh, but at the same time, one disadvantage could be like we know that there's like well that governments use AI to spy citizens, activists, to activist people. So in a way, I don't know. I don't know. It's something that I need to really analyze. But probably my conclusion will be like AI. It's not something good or bad. At the end, it's a tool, and could help to democracy, but um, must not replace democracy. I think that at the end, one of the how do you say this? Mm, how do you say deberes? I forget it.
Duties, duties,
Yeah, one of
duties.
the duties as citizens is like to really get informed about, in this case, the different politicians, the different governments, and at the end, yeah, have like our own perception. Unfortunately, we know, for example, here in Mexico, people normally don't get informed about anything, not just about politics. So that's an issue, and probably AI could help that because no, I don't know. You can ask the AI, what do you think about this to this politician or to this party, and you can have more an idea. But at the end, I think that you need to think and you need to do more research, not just the research that AI can give you. I think so.
Right. Yeah, that is a great comment. Yeah, there's gonna be uh, controversies, and I think, Mickey, and I wanted to share this with you. I
Hmm.
believe it is sometimes useful to make like little tables, and I do this not often, but I sometimes do it regarding the different AI apps. For example, I ask both apps to
Hmm.
make a table. For example, make a table comparing the features of DeepSeek versus the features of Chat GPT. And they give you a table, both of them give you a table.
Hmm.
And very often the tables are very, very similar, but not always. Not always. For example, you can ask the same question, make a table, compare the feature, and then I add them, including censorship. Right? So it's like you make the system fail, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And some of the apps start to crumble, which is something funny. Like you test it, and now some then, for example, then I one time asked Chat GPT on a sensible topic about the Mexican American War, right? Like, um, but I started with something like this. I started with what did you call, because if you start asking him, what do you think of the Mexican American War? Well, it was this based on a decree, based on the what was this? The not the moral doctrine, but it was manifest destiny, that the U.S. thought that they had the right to expand westwards, and that's why they expanded. And they didn't say blatant invasion, right? But if you start from somewhere else, you start. What do you think about Hitler invasion to Poland? They say no, it was terrible, very bad. This. They criticize it dramatically, right? And then you say, is it in a way similar to the invasion of the US to Mexico? And then the system starts to adapt itself. So it says, well, there are many similar points, but there are some other different points because Hitler used the vital space whereas the US used the manifest destiny. So both countries, or both nations had a pretext to invade an innocent nation, right? But sometimes you need to like push it a little bit. In other words, if you follow the traditional way, the app will give you a straight answer. But if you make analogies with other situations which you consider can make an analogy, in that case you kind of push the app, the AI, towards the answer that you really believe it is. For example, if you start like Hitler invasion to Poland was bad in what sense? They will give, well, it was bad because of this. And then you say, how about the US invasion to Mexico? And then they will make comparisons and will reach almost the same conclusion. But if you go through another path, it will reach a different conclusion. So, in a way, you're kind of manipulating the app. What do you
Mhm.
think of this procedure?
Yeah, of course. And I think that it's something that, at least as a user of AI, must do. I think that is I'm not gonna say like a duty, but I think that it's necessary to do because, in a way, you are not just getting with the first answer because you do like more research. You, in a way, like you are challenging the AI, and and well, I think that it's good because you can have like more uh, a, a clear idea of what you want to know, and about the all the information that it is, and that you can do a part of AI like your own research. I think that it's something good, and that it's something that we need to practice.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Mickey. Do you remember Julian Assange?
Julian Assange. Not really sure.
Really? Can you, I think it's Assange. Yeah, I think that's his name. Can you please Google him and find something about his activities, please, Mickey? I think
Was
Julian is the name.
The Australian one that was like spying, or that was something like that?
He was an entrepreneur. Yeah, he was caught for espionage, but let me see something. Yeah, that's him. I don't remember if he was Australian. Was he Australian?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I'm doing my research. He was the founder of WikiLeaks.
Yeah, that's WikiLeaks, right?
Hmm.
What else does it say about him? Australian. He's Australian. You're right.
Yeah. Uh, well, it's in Spanish, but Assange became uh, famous in 2010 when WikiLeaks published a series of filtrations, massive filtration of documents about the United States government. Between them, collateral murder, uh, documents about the war of Afghanistan and Iraq, and diplomatic threats. More than 250 diplomatic threats filtered that expose the political of the United States, international tensions, and private opinions about diplomatics.
Right.
Wow.
It became a scandal when he was. Is there anything about how he was caught? He was looking for refuge, I believe, in the Ecuadorian embassy or something. I don't know if it is there.
Mm, well,
He
here
looked for
says that.
asylum.
Let me see. Yeah, in 2012, Assange was refugee of the Ecuador
Embassy?
embassy of Ecuador in London, where he stays there for 7 years to avoid being how is it
Extradited?
extradited. And in 2019, he was arrested for the British policy when Ecuador removes the asylum.
It's incredible. Ecuador revoked his asylum and the UK authorities arrested him. He
Hmm.
has been held in Burmash prison in the United Kingdom, whereas the US wanted him to be extradited to the US. with charges under the Espionage Act. Well, it's funny, right? I mean, not everyone, but most governments conduct espionage in other countries, even friendly countries,
Hmm.
like this guy Pollard. Let me write the name. I don't know if I remember the name, because there have been many people. Yeah, espionage is something bad if you conduct espionage with a adversary, right? Like Edward Snowden. Remember Edward Snowden?
Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
Mm. Ah, it is like a similar case, right? Uh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Let's Google him, please. Can we?
Hmm.
About Snowden, please, Mickey.
Edward Snowden is a former contractor for the U.S. National Security Agency (NSA), who became world famous in 2013 for leaking highly classified documents that revealed the massive global surveillance programs carried out by the U.S. government. What did he do? In 2013, Snowden leaked thousands of secret documents to journalists as The Guardian, as The Washington Post, and these documents revealed mass surveillance programs by the NSA, including collecting full metadata from millions of Americans, example who called who, when, and for how long, monitoring internet activity through tech companies like Google, Facebook, Apple under a program called PRISM, spying on foreign governments, including allies like Germany and Brazil, and tapping undersea internet cables and gathering global internet traffic.
Right. Yeah, amazing life of Snowden. Um, incredible. Well, what do you think about his activities?
Well, as you mentioned, um, it is difficult because I think that it doesn't matter if they are allies or not. At the end, and mostly in governments and in countries as United States, China, Russia, like potential countries. Yeah, I think that it's very difficult to really trust 100% in them. I think that obviously we know that United States spy other countries, obviously including Mexico, including countries that are like allies. But I think that at the same time, other countries spy United States, and at the end, nobody trusts in nobody. But but yeah, it is a reality, and the issue is that at the end, uh, people think that they are free to use WhatsApp, to use Facebook, to use all those apps, and in occasions you can share send like sensitive information there, um, and yeah, probably someone else is looking at, and you're not aware. That's the issue, I think.
Yeah, that is true. It is funny that he was working as a CIA employee and eventually an NSA contractor, and he stole information. When he revealed information, that was not his information. But that's a very interesting topic because you see something. For example, we are not able or allowed ethically to see somebody else's information. But what happens if that information reveals something which is unlawful, right? Does it have validity? Let's say that you by accident see one of your friends left the computer open by accident, just by accident, and you came across, and the font was so big that you could not help but see what it said, right? It took you half a second. It says, I'll continue defrauding the bank. And I have this cliche with the banks, right? Maybe I was one in the last life. What do you do? Do you think you're making good use of some information which is forbidden? Let's say that by accident, any person, my,
Hmm.
my brother, by accident saw from a friend's private information, he saw that his friend was doing something illegal. Maybe, I don't know, maybe well, I use the example of the bank, robbing bank or getting in bank accounts illegally. But my brother saw that information illegal. I mean, unwillingly, by accident. Can he make use of that information?
Well, I think that that's the point where your ethics and values need uh, to prevail. I think that if you see like someone is doing something bad and that at the end is affecting others, uh, you have like the responsibility to show it. I think so. You know, it is very difficult. I think that I don't know how I will react at like at the moment. Imagine that this happened to me. But well, at the end, I think that where's our values. That's the moment where our values needs to prevail, and, and yeah, I think that that's the correct thing to do. It. I think so.
It's like a movie, and I'm not sure if I saw this in a movie, but you see a friend accidentally, you notice, but you actually, he left the computer open, he or she, they left the computer open, and by accident we saw that they were selling drugs, or they were getting into the bank accounts of certain bank, or they were colluded with a banker, or they were doing something wrong. Would you tell them outright, hey, Juanito, Pepito, Panchito, whatever, I noticed by accident that you're doing this. Would you address him directly? Would you face him directly? Or would you go to the justice? Would you keep silent? I mean, three different actions.
Hmm.
Go to the justice department or keep silence. Silent. What did you do?
Uh,
Difficult question. I don't know what I would do. I need to think.
Probably, well, if it's someone that is very close to me, probably I will tell him or tell her directly. And depending of the reaction, probably I will decide to go to the justice department because at the end, um, if this person is like doing something that is wrong, that is incorrect, I think that if you are really close to this person, sooner or later, it could affect to you too. So yeah, I think that probably at the beginning I would tell him or tell her, but then if the answer is not the answer that I was expecting, probably I will go to the Justice Department. I think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because for example, Snowden received a big criticism, and some people criticize him as a traitor. Imagine what a strong accusation, right? He revealed government secrets, and they said, well, he was a traitor because he endangered the national security. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he did that, and I don't see him as a traitor, but many people saw him, right? So when you reveal information, when you point at a person, and that happened to my friend, to a friend of mine, who actually was my English teacher, Jesse Padilla, right? He saw, I think I told you, right, that one day a guy came into the pool room, and he pulled out a gun and killed the person, the bartender. He killed the bartender. He emptied the gun, and then all the other guys just started grabbing balls, right? If he reloads, we're going to start throwing balls at him, right? Like billiard balls, where they're very hard. No, he just left. But then they call my friend as a witness, and they tell him, do you identify that person over there? Yeah, he says, yeah, you killed the bartender. So he had to admit and witness and become a witness. And then he kind of regretted it because he says, I put my family in jeopardy.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think of this, Mickey?
Yeah, it's a complex situation. Thanks of God that I haven't passed for something like that. But thinking the example of your friend, uh, I understand why he was afraid of that decision because he's like, oh my god, yeah, I want to be like responsible. If I was if I was a person that was there at that moment and I have the information to put in jail the person that really was in charge of this of this situation, um, probably I will do that, but I will be with fear, you know, because you don't know how this person could react, or if someone who you know that everything is connected at the end, and, and yeah, it is difficult, but I think that we need to be brave in occasions because if we're not brave enough, this type of problems will continue for how do you say forever.
Forever.
So it is complex, but I think that we need to be brave.
Brave, but you can also be cautious, right? Be brave, but take your precautions.
Yeah, of course.
Right. For example, some writers who had a very deep and witty pen to write things about politicians of the moment use pseudonyms.
Hmm.
Pseudonyms is it correctly spelled? Pseudonyms with P. I'm sorry.
I think.
Pseudonyms.
Hmm.
And among them, you had Voltaire, right? Voltaire. Can you Google a little bit about Voltaire, please, Mickey? Voltaire. Let's see who he was. French guy. Francois Marie Arouet was the real name. I remember.
Hmm. Voltaire was one of the most important and influential thinkers of the Enlightenment, a movement in 18th century Europe that emphasized reason, science, and individual freedom. Who was Voltaire? The real name was Francois
Francois.
Francois Marie Arouet. He was born on November 21 of 1694 in Paris, France. He died in May 30 in 1778. His profession, writer, philosopher, and historian, known for sharp wit, criticism of the church, defense of freedom of speech and religion.
Right. He was a strong believer in God. He was a very spiritual person, but
Right.
also he also criticized strongly not only the church, the government. He was a very strong critic, a good historian. And I remember when I was in primary school. I was in primary school in fifth grade or sixth grade, and there were some books about him in the house. And I started reading them. He was very witty, very ingenious, but also very critic. And I mentioned the name in the school, which was a school of nuns. Oh man, they told me, no, 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 you shouldn't be reading Voltaire. Voltaire was a monster almost.
Yeah,
Uh, but in reality, people like him. There's another one in from the U.S. What's this guy very famous? The one who wrote Tom Sawyer,
mm,
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain. Hmm.
Mark Twain. Uh, do you know about him a little bit?
Um, I well, I know that he has written many books, uh, but I think that at the same time he was uh, a humorist too.
Yes, yes, yes. He was a humorist and a very witty writer, almost like a comedian, but not a comedian precisely. He was a humorous writer, very witty, very witty. His name, I believe, was Sam Clemens, Samuel Clemens, and he was a critic of the current society. But they had to use pseudonyms. Look, he had to use Voltaire, and he had to use Mark Twain also.
Mark Twain. Wow.
So it was a protecting device to use pseudonyms because of retaliation. Retaliation is has always been common. For example, to the journalists who expose people Well, what happened with Assange? He was finally caught in Ecuador, that is supposed to be a neutral nation. They delivered him to the English authorities, the people from Ecuador. Snowden managed to flee. He fled to Russia, where he even adopted the Russian citizenship. He became a
Yeah.
Russian citizen.
Well,
He needed to be protected. I mean, there are retaliations. People retaliate when you do something against their interests. That's why people like Voltaire, Mark Twain, and many others adopted pseudonyms. What do you think of this practice of protecting yourself to be able to reveal wrongdoings? I mean, if they do something wrong, you reveal or you expose that, and they retaliate to you or your family. You cannot, we cannot permit that, right? So,
mhm.
what do you think of this practice of using pseudonyms?
Yeah. Uh, well, I would say it's a tool. I don't know now in the actuality how easy it is to use to just have like pseudonyms to cover your identity, because we know that there are a lot of technology, there are a lot of espionage that in a way can make it more difficult. But at the end, I think that for first hand uh, is a it's a best idea to use instead of using your name. I didn't know about the real name of Mark Twain, because yeah, I have heard about him, but oh, even the same with Voltaire. But I don't know that there were pseudonyms, and yeah, it is interesting. Actually, I was looking for more about Voltaire, and now that I saw one of their quotes, one of his famous quotes, it is a quote that I really like, but I remember that was of him, and it's like, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. And yeah, it's this expression in a way like shows the freedom of expression that these people have, but obviously being cautious and witty to not using their name. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Right. Voltaire was one of the people from the illustration, from the French illustration, was considered a very intelligent person, but also very witty, and as you say, a humorous person, very humorous. And it's unfortunate that I don't read French to be able to read it in the original language, because it should be marvelous to be able to understand a person in the original language, like we can do with English writers. For example, John Steinbeck. He's a fantastic writer. He's just amazing, and many other American writers. Um, but imagine being able to read Voltaire in French. That'd be just fantastic with all the humor and the wit that he had, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But well, there are many good translations of his jobs, of his works. So that'd be
Mhm.
another possibility. There is another one which I'm trying to remember from the French illustration. Maybe can you Google look for some of the names of the smart of the intellectual people of the famous people of during the illustration, Mickey, please, during the French Revolution. I'm trying to find out remember the name. Molière is the other.
Moller.
Molière, yes,
Mm.
Molière. Molière. He's another person who was a very witty and ingenious French writer, Molière, which is
Rousseau.
also, excuse me?
There's other one, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Montesquieu.
Montesquieu.
Mhm.
Montesquieu, yeah, of course. Montesquieu.
Mhm.
Uh, does it say anything about Molière?
Mm,
There must be.
Molière. Yeah, his real name was Jean-Baptiste Poquelin.
Okay.
He was known as the greatest French comedic playwright of all time. And what did he do? Molière wrote satirical comedies that poked fun at the upper class, doctors, religious hypocrisy, and social norms. He used humor to criticize society, a method that Enlightenment thinkers later admired.
Right, that's Molière. Yeah, one of the best writers. And you said that is considered the most what?
Molière is considered the greatest French comedic playwright of all time.
Okay, French comedy writer. Okay, yeah, he's a fascinating writer, and there are very good translation works of his work. And if you have a few minutes, anytime, just look for his writings
Hmm.
or Voltaire's writings. If I think I don't know what is better to read them in Spanish or in English. If you read them in English, you're going to manage to practice the language. But I think French is a more similar language to Spanish.
Spanish,
So
yeah.
the fine notes will be, I think, better explained or more subtle in Spanish.
And
I
which
don't
one
know,
would you
maybe
recommend me, teacher? Of Voltaire.
Voltaire, almost any writing. I mean, from him, from Voltaire, and from Molière also. He has a selection of humorous stories, short stories. They are short stories. So I'm going to look up for some of the writings. I'll see if there. I've never read anything from Voltaire or Molière in English, just in Spanish.
In
So
Spanish.
I don't know if the translation must be good. I'm sure,
Yeah, of course.
but I have never read anything from Voltaire or Molière in English. I
English.
have by Mark Twain, of course.
Hmm.
But if you're able to read something from Voltaire or Molière, Spanish or English is great because they're just great thinkers, and very humorous, very witty, very ingenious people.
I'm gonna look for books of them, teacher. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, Mickey. Well, let's get to rest a bit, Mickey, and then good talking to you. I had been very busy the previous weeks, but I already passed my colloquium, the doctoral
Uh,
degree.
how was, teacher?
It was good. It was great. I was very happy. Thank you. So I'm gonna be more relaxed from now on. So maybe we can go back to the 2 classes per week, if possible, right?
Yes, teacher, will be fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, Mickey. Well, good talking to you, Mickey, as usual. Interesting and sometimes difficult questions, but I am I'm doubtful myself of the answers sometimes. You know.
Yeah, but it's good to challenge ourselves to try to respond to those questions. Thank you very much, teacher, for your time and for everything.
Okay, take care, Mickey. Good to see you. Say hello to the family, and
You
see
too,
you soon.
teacher.
Then take care.
See you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye now.